Welcome back to another session of Relationship Revolution. In this session, we're going to talk about listening, which is the third level of solutions. The first level is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. The second level is love your neighbor as yourself. And then on top of those two builds listen. James 1:19 through 20. This you know, my beloved brethren, but let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For the anger of man does not achieve the righteousness of God. Now, listening, I'm going to teach you a very simple listening formula. The formula is easy to learn. I mean, you can learn the formula in moments, but using it under duress and using it in a way that is loving and respectful to the people around you takes practice. Lots of practice, lots of practice, lots of caring, lots of getting the foundation built of loving the Lord your God and staying calm and having good emotional bank accounts, good positive emotional bank accounts with people. So here we go. Listening. This is actually the first skill that I stumbled on when I started trying to study how to get along better with people. And I was reading a book. And at that time, I had two small children. Two small little girls. And I was very frustrated with my little girls because we would get in the car and they would just talk and loud and talk over each other, and it got louder and louder, and the car rides were just very challenging. And I was praying at that time, Lord, please give me wisdom for how to train my children to be quiet. And I ran across this principle in a book. When people don't feel heard, they repeat themselves. And most generally, when they repeat themselves, they say it louder the second time, even louder yet the third time, louder yet the fourth time. Until somebody feels heard, they keep repeating themselves. And as I read that in the book, I realized, it's not my daughters who need to be trained. It's their daddy. Their daddy's not listening to them, so they keep repeating themselves louder and louder. And I determined to practice this to see if it actually worked. Oh boy, I got an opportunity real soon. I think that day, I was getting in the car with one of my daughters. I opened the door. She got in the back seat. I opened the front door. She said, Daddy, look at my doll. And I was thinking about what I just read in the book. And I turned around and said, Honey, oh, it sounds like you're very happy to have that doll. And she said, Yep. And she didn't say another word. I got very excited and at that moment got very determined to become a highly skilled listener. And I am glad to report it took years of training, but now my daughters feel heard when they talk. And most of the time, in a car ride or sitting around the table when my family of 6 members is there, one person talks at a time and the rest of us listen. And it's very wonderful conversations. Listening changes the world. People are hungry to be heard. So here's the formula. When somebody speaks and you want to have them feel heard, first you do a tentative opening. So, if I heard you correctly, let me see if I get this right. I'm not sure I understood what you said. The thing about the tentative opening is it isn't the words, it's the attitude behind the words. The attitude that says, I care about you, I realize the world is complex, and if you want to study that a little more, go back to the session about the 5 levels of interest and dialectical tensions. Oh, every moment is highly complex. And if I think I've got you figured out or your situation figured out, I'm kidding myself. All really I can do is have a learning attitude and try to understand what you're going through. The tentative opening is just trying to summarize that attitude and really set up that attitude in my mind. The next step is acknowledge emotions. This is very interesting. When emotions have a high level of intensity, they tend to do this. They kind of, have you ever felt like anger or fear, even the term we use, welling up inside you? It's like it comes up and it comes up into your head, and here's what it does to your ears. It covers them. Intense emotions cover your ears. Now, if I'm repeating back to somebody what they said, but their ears are covered, can they hear that I heard them? No, they can't hear, so they still don't feel heard, so they still keep repeating themselves. So in order for a person to hear me repeat back their thoughts, I've got to uncover their ears. And the way you do that is simply by naming the emotion. Oh, so let me put those two concepts together, tentative opening and naming the emotion. So if I'm hearing correctly, you're feeling scared. Or, so, are you scared? So, I think I'm hearing that you're scared. Very, very quick, very simple. I did a tentative opening and I named the emotion. And when you name the emotion, it just drains. It's incredible. The cool thing is, you don't even have to name the emotion correctly. I've had this happen several times. I'd say to somebody, so, if I've got this right, you're frightened. And they'll go, no, not really. I'm just puzzled. It's very interesting that even the attempt to name somebody's emotion seems to help them lower the intensity of the emotion and be able to evaluate it for themselves many times. It's incredible. It's almost like a magic, maybe even a miracle. Okay, and the third part is rephrase the content of what somebody says. So if I heard you correctly, you're scared because there's a bug under the bed. It's very simple. You're just kind of summarizing what you heard the person say, and you're not parroting it back to them. You're not saying their exact words. You're saying what you heard them say in your words. Now, the higher level of listening is reframing what the person said. And what reframing is picking the person's interest out of what they said and stating it back to them in a forward, hopeful-looking manner. Let me say that again. Reframing is picking the interest. Remember the 5 levels of interest? You go back and review that session. Picking the interest out of what somebody said and speaking the interest back to the person in a forward, hopeful-looking manner. So, if my wife comes up to me and says, "Oh, the house is a mess. I just want to get our bedroom under control. I wish that I could, it all feels like it's pounding down on me." And so what are the interests in there? Let's just go with the tangible. She wants the house in order. Let's go with relationship or role. She wants to figure out who's going to do what. Okay? What process interest, what identity interest does she have? Very possibly the identity at risk here is, or one that she's feeling is, I'm a pretty good housekeeper. Well, if my house is a mess, that means I'm not a very good housekeeper, and I want to be a good, I want to be a good house manager. Process. Boy, she has a process interest. In coming to me and telling me this, she wants me to have a loving conversation with her, loving and respectful conversation to figure out a solution to this. And oh boy, the system interest. I mean, we've got a whole family system about taking care of the house, and obviously it's broken, so we need to fix that system. We want a healthy, I mean, for Pete's sake, we teach people how to have effective group function. We need to have a household that functions effectively, right? Oh boy, there's another identity. How can we teach this stuff when we're not living it well in our house? Okay, rewatch that section in the video several times, and rewatch the session on 5 levels of interest, and you'll see what I'm saying. So I'm going to reframe for you. I'm just going to reframe the tangible interest. I'll reframe the tangible and the role interest that I just expressed to you. So I'm going to do the whole tentative opening, name the emotion, and reframe. Here you go. Ready? So, honey, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're frustrated, maybe even a little sad here about the house, and you would like us to figure out a plan to get the house in order and keep it that way. And you would like not all that to fall on you. You would like us all to figure out what role each of us are going to play in that. Do you see that by reframing what I did her the service of helping her organize her thoughts, and I also set us down the road towards figuring out a solution. I put the picture in all of our heads of what we want to hit, of the interests that we want to achieve, the goals we want to achieve, and I just said those back to her. And when you get good At a tentative opening, naming the emotion and reframing, you go around spreading peace. You go around spreading a hope that we can move into the kind of future that we want. What better gift could you give to the people around you? Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. You can find these principles and more in my book, Muddling Along or Unity, Confessions of a Recovering Jerk. It's available at Amazon.com in print, Kindle, and audio. To learn how to practice these principles with me, go to dialoguedojo.com.